you've got to do this to buy a Lamborghini, you've got to do this to buy a Rolex. They're just not practical to me in my mindset. You have to go from being the hardest worker to being the smartest worker. You'll do all the work, you'll generate all the money, but just get very little rewards. How do I also do what I never had and have that environment where you know you're going to better your life? And so for me, that was the core part of what V12 is and will be. There's layers to those businesses that you can't earn above X, or you can't get above this job. Came out of university and worked in a telesales job in Manchester, in Salford Keys, doing 300 calls a day. I always say that if you've got a phone in your hand, you're richer than a high percentage of the world.
Josh, great to finally meet you.
How are you, sir?
We're in the Wolf Layer, okay? I feel like I'm in Batman's cave, honestly, yeah? Right, so we've got with us an extremely inspirational story. Unbelievable. I've watched this guy for only a year and a half. Now, his story spans much longer than that. Football agent, you know, we've got supercar storage, we've got supercar sales, normal car sales, we've got detailing, we have got repairs. I didn't even know where to stop, to be honest, so I'm going to pass it on to the man with the plan. So just tell me, Josh, what is your dream?
The dream with it, for me, it's just to build a culture and build a business that not only myself can change the level of life for me, but my family, the people around me and my staff. So the way it's kind of been built for me from the start of V12 is not to be this corporate engine that just saps all the money and everyone's energy, is to kind of develop myself and the business, but also people that kind of work for me. So as we grow, people's level of life changes, and slowly, although it's only been, as I say, 14, 15 months in terms of the business, already there's been changes in terms of staff and myself. And that's not that we're absolutely killing it, but at the same point, it's the next level up, and it's enabling people to just be and live better, really. So that for me is really the goal. It's not a monetary goal, it's a freedom goal. It's being able to kind of, me personally, go away and work from wherever I want to work and have faith in the staff that are looked after, that are paid well, that they can hold the fort and take the business forward.
And what motivates you? Like, what motivates you day to day?
I get asked that a lot, actually. I think it is just the freedom. I think I've got myself into this like ridiculous work ethic, and I think that a key thing that people will not make a mistake of, but everyone's always like, oh, I'm the hardest worker in the room, I work harder than anyone else, and that's great, but I think it gets to a point where you have to go from being the hardest worker to being the smartest worker. And I think a lot of people make that mistake, that working the hours I do, I mean, I'm up at 4 or 5 o'clock every single day and I don't finish till 9 or 10, so I've had like 2 or 3 days off in a year. So for me, that to anyone sounds like crazy work ethic, and it's good, but now it's starting to shift to kind of intense work ethic, but at the same point I'm working smarter with it. So I don't need to do the kind of hours that I did before, because the things are getting easier and we're getting smooth in terms of how we're working.
So how did you build this? So obviously we know the story is actually, you know, quite new. It's a new business, yeah. You know, it's taken off really well, but obviously prior to that, who is Josh Apps?
I was a footballer as a young kid. I was a very good footballer as a young player. I had injuries, and then went into being a football agent for all my sins. I hated football agents when I was younger, and then I became a football agent because I wanted to be good in the bad. So for the first 2 years, I worked for pretty much next to nothing, and then got onto a minimal salary. Signed a couple of players to the agency I was at, and then it just kind of escalated from there, really. I got headhunted, worked with another company, and then finally I worked for one of the largest football agencies in the world up until probably 6 months before V12 was born. Okay. Just in corporate kind of, not corporate, but corporate kind of backgrounds, in the fact that you'll do all the work, you'll generate all the money, but just get very little rewards. So okay. I just got to a point in my life where I was like, right, I really need to have a push now, because otherwise I'm just going to be looking at the clock and working and earning good money by anyone's kind of income, but not life-changing money that enables me to live better. So I switched then over to V12. So I was kind of 80% football, 20% cars. So for kind of 10 years I'd done the cars on and off, and then I switched it completely. I still have my players that I look after now. I've got some great players that have become my friends as well, and I think the key thing with it is I don't give them any bullshit advice. I look after them. I still obviously speak to them quite a lot and go and watch their games and make sure that the contracts are weighted in their favour, not in my favour. Yeah. And I think that's pretty much what's done me well in the agency side of it, and well amongst players, is that I look after people right, and it's followed me all the way through life, and in the same as in V12 as well. I'd rather look after someone than earn money from them and like kind of make a absolute killing from them. I'd rather look after them because it then creates repeat business. It's the same with anything you do in life, I find anyway. So yeah.
So long term, obviously you've looked after these players, you've built a great relationship with them, and obviously they're now loyal to you basically.
Yeah, they're loyal to me because in fact I've been there for them when they started. One of my players, I had him since he was 15 years old. So I moved him in the last window. So he's 22 now. So yeah, quite a few years. Right. Plays for his country internationally. So yeah, it's good. It's what I needed as a young player, and I feel that a lot of young players need good guidance. But unfortunately, there's a huge money industry. So when you have that huge money industry, you get bad advice. Not every agent's bad, but a lot of them are, because they give bad advice based on how much money they're going to earn. Yeah. And I just couldn't agree with that. I can't put someone's future above my own kind of income. So for me, it was a case that I had to kind of come out of that industry slowly and build it into my own kind of hub where I've got my own kind of agency. And then, as I say, V12 was my bread and butter, and that's where I went to work at.
So you have your own football agency now as well?
Yeah. Oh, so okay. I came out of the large football agency, set up my own kind of registered agent personally, and I just do the deals myself. So
wow, okay. So for those now, obviously we've got you working for someone, so we're getting the story. What you're working with someone, you're not happy ethically and morally with the route that's taken. So you've almost got like an ethically correct football agency, which is very difficult to do. So those that are wanting to become football agents, because I know football agents, those that can't be footballers, maybe you got young kids might say, you know what, they're drawn to the money, they're drawn to the lifestyle, they think it's they think it's the right way to go. Yeah. What advice would you give them to say, right, well, if you're starting out in that journey, this is what you should do?
It's a very, very hard industry to get into, and it's all about who you know. Yeah. The best way is to go and identify players and just build that relationship with them, just giving them honest advice. Unfortunately, a lot of things go on and money gets offered left, right and centre that those players' heads are turned. So unless you know the player personally or through a family connection, it makes it very hard for you to sometimes hold on to them players. So you might sign a player at 16, 17 and have him for 2 years, and a big agency comes along and promises them the world and says they're going to be a Premier League footballer, and you lose them. So unfortunately, the way that game has gone is it's gone from having your one-man bands on the top players, is that all the top players, other than the odd couple that have had very strong relationships with their agent, just end up going with the bigger agencies. Right. So it's a very, very hard industry to get into. The advice I'd say to someone is you've just got to be at every single game you can and just be identifying young players and just get as touch tight to them as possible. It's not easy because of the regulations in place as well to talk to minors and things like that is very, very tricky, very tricky. Okay. But yeah, that's a tough game. It used to be a lot easier than what it is now. It's a very, very tough game.
No, it's difficult. Okay. Yeah. And then obviously let's talk about business now. Yeah. So obviously, how was this idea born? V12.
It was born because I've always done cars. I mean, when I was still playing football, I would go, my first kind of stint with buying cars, I'd go to my local British car auctions. Yeah. They're the biggest remanufacturing company in Europe, and I'd go there and buy a car with a dent in the door for like £2,000 and think to myself, I can make money on this. But what I didn't realise is I was buying them cars and taking them to a standard garage to get them repaired. Yeah. By the time I had them repaired, it was the same as what they were retail. Yeah. So for the first 3 or 4 cars, I'd be lucky if I broke even. Yeah. So I was like, how is this so hard? So it slowly, whereas it would put most people off, I'm like, right, I need to get smarter with this. How can I make money from this? Because without being nasty, a lot of the industry are 50, 60, 70-year-old guys that sat there, Rolex on, and sat next to loads of cars, selling these cars, making what seems to be loads of money. How can I not be doing this? So got myself smarter into how I needed to do it. And then from football, it was born that I became the go-to person with kind of footballers and some celebrities that I was trusted, that I wouldn't rip people off. So they asked me to go and buy cars for them into main dealers, your Ferraris, your Lamborghinis, because they felt like if they went in there, they would know who they are and they would try and sell them the world or overprice the cars. So I would go in and do the deals, and then the players would look after me for doing that. So rather than them saying, I want to go and get this, they would say, Josh, can you find me a Hurricane Evo? I want it to have these options. I want finance on it. I want this. I want that. So I just basically went down that kind of route of sourcing stuff for players and building it from there, really.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And what was your first car?
My first car was a Golf.
Yeah.
I had it when I was at University of Birmingham.
It wasn't one of those bad boy Golfs, was it?
It was, yeah. It was, yeah.
Mark IV.
Yeah, Mark IV.
Mark IV, yeah.
Yeah. So I had a Mark IV, private plate on it.
Yes.
Turned up to university,
Okay.
and I think I wasn't liked, because obviously everyone's there at university, and I'm there with a Josh number plate on a car. But for me, cars had always been my passion, and if I saved a bit of money, I'd buy a plate or I'd buy a car.
Yeah.
So it was like, I don't know how to describe it, but for me, that wasn't me showing off. That was just my passion and what I like. And still to this day, I get to drive some of these amazing cars, and people must see me or must see socials or LinkedIn and think, oh, bloody hell, that guy must like be out all the time driving, and like, it doesn't motivate me in the slightest. I'm not here to show off. I'm not here to drive around in a Bugatti and post it all over social media so people think that I'm absolutely loaded. I'm not motivated by that in the slightest. It's just a case that I wanted to have those things that I was passionate about, and it started with a Golf, and it kind of grew from there, really.
Golf to where we are now.
Golf to a 320i that had an M3 badge on it, and everyone thought it was an M3.
Yeah.
I think everyone's got one of them in their locker. Everyone's got a fake M or an AMG car in their locker.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of grew. Probably only, I would say, 6-7 years ago. I was just, even now, I'm not afraid to. I'll drive around in a Fiat 500. I can't stress it enough. For me, it's not about that, and I think a lot of people go wrong with that. Is that all these people aspire to a lot of these YouTubers that have 5 or 6 cars that they don't really own, that they're just doing for socials. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's a false image that you're giving young people, and young people then aspire to have these kind of cars rather than working hard and these following. Yeah. So it's a little bit different to what people would probably expect.
Yeah. Wow. So going back to your schedule, because that's intense.
Yeah.
So you obviously, like you've said, this is not, you see the socials, but you're a person behind the social media that does literally 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. So walk us through your day. Like, what does your day look like? You wake up, and then what happens after
So I've
that?
got a little list on my phone of everything I try to do. And I think, again, a thing that people will kind of look at, everyone looks for motivation, everyone looks for, right, what should I do to start my day? I think the key thing that people make a mistake in is that they make a list and they punish themselves if they don't do it. If you, like, I have a 5k run, gym, steam sauna, like meditate, read, chamomile or mint tea, like little things like that I find a list, and probably I would only say 3 or 4 days out of the week I'll be able to do that. The other days I either don't feel up to it, or I'm too tired, or I wake up too early and then I'm already away with my day. So I try to start like that, but I don't punish myself for not starting like it. So I'll start my day as a normal day. I'll probably be 4:30, 5 o'clock. I'll put a light on, get a tea, read, try and meditate for a bit, and then go outside, get some air, and then go to the gym where I'll try and do a 5k or do some weights. I'll then come back upstairs and price up probably between 50 to 100 cars. Oh, wow. So I'll go through 7 different sites where we'll be buying cars, and also emails and inquiries from customers. I make the golden mistake of looking at work before work starts, but I feel at the moment in the age of the business that I have to. If I start at 9, I'm way behind, and then my day just gets longer. So I try and get a lot done beforehand. I'll then drive a walk into the office, which is stupid because it's only like 3 or 4 minutes away from where I live, especially if the weather's bad. And then I'll just continue on from there, really get a really good breakfast in, and just build myself from there. All the staff come in, and we just try and work in a really, really good environment. There's not a day where, if you were to ask anyone that works for me, that they don't come in and think, shit, I've got to go to work today. It's a happy place. We only have kind of strict rules in terms of times in the office to come in, but there's no set hours. Most people stay there till 7 or 8 at night, and I don't ask that of them, but they want to better themselves, and they want to work in a company where they feel like they're going to be rewarded. Everyone that works for me is all worked in corporate environments. I haven't. So it's been a big thing for me in terms of being a boss as such, managing those people and different environments that they're used to working in, and different personalities. So that's been a kind of, for the first 6 months, an eye-opener in terms of, okay, well, how do I motivate these people, and how do I make them tick, and how do I get the best out of them, but how do I also do what I never had and have that environment where you're going to better your life And so for me, that was the core part of what V12 is and will be. We're very soon going to be taking on more staff, and it will be a kind of selective period of looking for people that want to progress. And there's so many good people out there that have been in these corporate jobs or in corporate environments and been in main dealers, and they're limited. There's layers to those businesses that you can't earn above X, or you can't get above this job. Everyone that works for me knows that the sky's the limit. If anyone earns more money than me, I'm more happy for them than they are. So for me, that's the goal. It's to just keep progressing and build with the right staff, really.
Amazing. So let's go back to the Mark IV era and prior to that. So obviously we've got, young up and coming Josh. Mm-hmm. What was young up and coming Josh like in school?
I was good in school. I was very shy, painfully shy.
Yeah.
If I was talking to someone, I couldn't even look at them. I was painfully shy. And then being a young footballer, you go into digs.
Yeah.
So my dad picks me up, drops me off the other end of the country.
Wow.
And I've got to fend for myself. Completely different city, going into a training ground where I never knew anyone, just made me grow up so quick and established me really for what I am. I always had that entrepreneur side, but I was a very good footballer at a young age, so I thought that was my life. I used to watch Match of the Day and watch England games and see myself doing that, and that was always my goal, to be a footballer and play for my country. So it's funny how life changes and works out in different ways as opposed to what you thought it would be.
So you were literally picked up, dropped off, and then you had to kind of obviously make a life for yourself.
Yeah.
Would you say that kind of, I wouldn't say tough love, but I would say, did that help you become who you are?
Yeah, I think my dad's a very, very tough character.
Yeah.
I know of, well, most dads are quite tough in general, but my dad was extremely tough.
Okay.
So that if I didn't have a good game or if I wasn't good, then it was the worst thing in the world. Okay. So I think I struggled in terms of that in personality, and it's always affected me throughout my life because it wasn't good enough. Nothing was ever good enough. So I think that kind of lit the fuse with me that I need to be the hardest working person in my phone book, and I need to change the level of life for everyone around me. I think without it being the right way of doing it, it encouraged that, because I just didn't feel good enough growing up. I just didn't feel that anything that I could do, work-related, school-related, anything was ever going to be good enough. So
there was always like this extra pressure on yourself that you felt like,
extreme pressure.
How do I get to?
Yeah.
But what was the end goal back then when you were growing up and stuff? Obviously mentally you are kind of always trying to get to that point. When did you feel like, you know what, I can't keep doing this? Or did you feel like you just had to keep going to just make your dad happy or make yourself happy? Or
I think when football started to come to an end, I went to university, and then I got offered a contract to play in the conference, and I just started at university, and I needed to train there 3 or 4 times a week, but I had university.
Right.
So my dad was like, well, I know you've just gone to university, but you need to be playing. And I'm like, well, I can't have started university. So I think for then it made a situation where I thought, shit, I need to reevaluate my life here, and I'm not getting any younger. I'm 18, 19 years old. If I don't sort something out now, then I'm not going to have a career. I won't have a trade. I won't have anything. So I needed to kind of establish myself in what I wanted from life. So I continued through university, came out of university and worked in a telesales job in Manchester, in Salford Quays, doing 300 calls a day. So I have one call up and the other one just straight selling, yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, just to survive, I needed to. My family never from a wealthy background. I'm not got a golden spoon. Never had anything that people would think I'm rich from. So I needed to survive. So I went to work basically, and then moved home at probably 23, 24 years old with about £8 in my bank account.
Wow.
And went and worked for free for a year, just to cover my expenses for a football agency, and just grew it from there. I think at 22, 23, I moved home and went and worked at Co-op. And I remember sat there one evening, because it's on the coast and it's freezing at night.
Yeah.
I used to get dropped there by my mum, and I was like, I'm in my early 20s here. I'm like facing up shelves, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I knew I needed more for my life than that. And I really appreciate people that can work 9 to 5 and can switch off, but at the same point, that wasn't what I wanted for my life. I knew in how my mindset is that I needed to do better than that, but I'd taken a step back. At first I saw that as a failure, but then I realised that from there on, I knew that that's my lowest point, and I know that I'll never ever let myself get back to that situation. It doesn't matter what it takes.
Yeah.
I will, if it means that I go and work in anywhere I can to survive and keep a roof over my head, I will do. So,
Wow.
so that kind of made me as well. So there's a combination of things that kind of spurred me on and gave me that fire to produce a better life.
Yeah. So at university, obviously, this was a big moment where you made the choice.
Mm-hmm.
So this was your choice that you want to study and you want to go to university instead of learning, playing in the conference.
Yeah.
So obviously you mentioned, Dad was, your biggest fan and also to push through things. So was that a very hard time? Because obviously you literally, do you feel like you were letting your dad down, or do you feel like you're building yourself up?
I think for maybe 6 months to a year, he hardly spoke to me, if at all. Just, like not cut me, but half cut me off, because he always wanted to be a footballer as a kid, and you find that a lot of parents live through their children, right? Yeah. So he struggled with that a lot, because he knew I was a good footballer, and I was a really good footballer. Yeah. But I played with injuries, and especially Osgood's that stopped me playing for kind of 18 months. But when I came back, there was so much pressure, and he worked in the football industry. Yeah. So people had even more pressure on me because my dad's in the industry. So it just became a situation where it was very, very hard to get to where I wanted to get to in a very limited time because of the injuries that I had. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so let's circle back to now, V12 right now. So obviously you have grown an amazing business in a very short period of time. Yeah. Someone setting up business from scratch. Yeah. What words of wisdom would you give them?
Business in general or a car dealership?
Business in general, like just setting up something brand new from scratch.
The first thing, and I'm still learning now, and it should be taught in school, is start to learn tax inside out. Yeah. Tax is a nightmare. Yeah. Everyone, if you're doing things legit, you have to pay taxes, and a lot of them. Yeah. Which obviously, if you're running a business like this, you have to. Yeah. But you're not taught how to manage your VAT, your corporation tax, and even to this day, I'm looking at bills and I'm like, how is it that much? How have we got this tax? How have we got that? Yeah. So, again, the staff I've got have their strengths, and that side of it isn't in terms of sell, and worry about that later. Whereas they're like, right, you do realise we've got this to pay, we've got that to pay, and that side of it I couldn't do without, especially Nadeem, our other director. I wouldn't be able to do it without him. But at the same point, it's I would tell people to start looking into taxes and how it works and how you're going to set it up for the company and industry that you're working in. Yeah. And then I would just say you've got to dust to your knees. You've got to either potentially work for free or learn how to not make money but learn the process. There's a process to everything. I always say that if you've got a phone in your hand, you're richer than a high percentage of the world, and that the fact that you can make money. It doesn't matter what it is, you can find a way to make money with your phone if you've got the drive and determination to do it. So yeah, it would just be a case that the advice I'd give to people is start to learn about your taxes because they come around and really just knuckle down on working hard in terms of your hours and finding out what it is that you want to get from that business, and not look at it as a money thing, not look at yourself as, right, I want to earn 10 million from this company. It's how do I make it so that I can have a salary from this company? What's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? Yeah. And I think that's the advice that, as I say, I was probably never really given, and it's come around to me now that, not that I feel enlightened, but I feel that, shit, if I'd have known this 6-7 years ago, it would have helped me, but I would have messed this business up. If I'd done this at 25, 26, it would have lasted 2 months because I would have sold 3 cars, thought I was the best thing in the world, and gone on holiday and come back with nothing. So as you develop and as you get older, you realise these things. No one is perfect. No one doesn't make mistakes in terms of business. It's always going to be mistakes, but I think it's how you deal with it. We've sold so many cars in the last year, and we've only ever had 2 issues with cars that we've sold, but we sort them out instantly. If there's an issue, we'll sort it out. And I think that's a big thing that people lack in business, especially in the car industry. Once a car's sold, they get rid of it. Don't take the calls. If an issue, don't speak to him. We're the opposite. Speak to us as an issue because I want to sort it out, because that's what gets us a repeat business. We've only just done our first bit of marketing on social media, which is like a 300-400 quid marketing, but the whole business for the last 14 months has not had a penny spent on advertising other than Auto Trader.
Wow.
It's all through recommendation and through your LinkedIn, through social media, and through people talking about us within their friends group or corporate circles or ultra high net worths. So yeah.
Wow. So I think I know the answer to this question, but risk or financial stability?
Risk.
Yeah, I thought so.
Always.
Yeah, of course, it has to be a risk. And now I've got to say, one important thing here is I think Josh's testament here that nice guys don't finish last; they finish top. Yeah, because I've never known someone morally, ethically correct. Obviously, you've got a supercar business. You know, you're doing everything the right way. You're trying to get a really good financial structure in place. You're building a team of people that want to work with you, that want to actually come in.
Yeah.
So for me, obviously, Josh is a real boss, and you know, it's a really inspirational story. And I really look forward to seeing the rest of this journey, because it's just the beginning, and obviously if you'll have us back. Yeah, and thank you for showing us around both locations. It's been really great to have you.
Good,
thank you so much, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Did you give you the t-shirt? I can give him the t-shirt. So obviously Josh is a real boss, and Josh, this is for you just to take away.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate it.
Have for yourself.
Thank you. I'll be in the gym early in the morning.
On the next 5K, yeah?